Hey guys, this is BurpBot. I'm redoing my Starfarer walk around and review video because the last one wasn't really detailed or complete and there were some interruptions. So this one's going to be optimized. Uh, just to kind of summarize where I'm at, I'm just floating in the middle of space. I quantum traveled out to the middle of nowhere, so there's nobody can possibly find me out here, and I can actually do a review and walk around of the Starfarer without being interrupted, and I can do a better job. To save time, I'm just going to jump right into it. The Starfarer is manufactured by Musashi Industrial and Starlight Concern. Its primary focus is transport, secondary focus is refueling, so it does have a lot of cargo space, and it also has fuel tanks for fuel storage. The minimum number of crew is 2. Definitely don't recommend just flying with 2 people. It's a big ship. You're going to need a lot of crew. Maximum crew on here it says is 7. I would recommend 10, honestly, and I'll explain that later. The standalone price is $360 roughly. You can get the ship. There are ways to get it. You can get them on eBay. You can get ship upgrades or buy the standalone ship with LTI, which is lifetime insurance through eBay. So if you want to spend that much money, then go for it. You know what I mean? You're supporting a good game. So if you want to spend that money, I would recommend buying the standalone ship with the LTI. That way, you will always have insurance for your ship without having to pay out of pocket, which is always nice. The mass of the ship without any cargo is 350,000 kilograms. Cargo capacity is 3,321. Length is 100 meters. It stands 24 meters high and it's 45 meters wide. It has an upgrade capacity of 8. Max power plant size is 6. It has 2 TR5 main thrusters and 1 TR6 thruster, and it has 8 TR2 maneuvering thrusters as well. The max shield is 2, so it's definitely not built for combat. And then it has several Class 2, 4 Class 2 size 5 hard points, and then the rest are all coming soon. So you can probably find more specific information on the Roberts Space Industries website. I'm getting my information from the Star Citizen wiki, so there might be a little discrepancy there. And then a brief description of what the MISC Starfarer is. So, the MISC Starfarer is the galaxy's standard fuel transport. Starfarers are ubiquitous on both sides of the fueling process. Their massive tanks allow for both the collection of spaceborne fuel from gas giants and extra solar sources, as well as the transport of active fuel from refinery stations to the primary market. Though the stock model lacks refinery equipment, the Starfarer does have docking mechanisms allowing it to conduct in-flight refueling operations with most spacecraft classes. So, pretty much, in a nutshell, it's a refueling platform, and it has the possibility to convert planetary gas into the hydrogen fuel used by spaceships, which is pretty awesome. So, a quick note, too, about the cargo capacity of the ship. So that 3,300 units of cargo space is just cargo space. That doesn't actually apply to the fuel pod. So the fuel is a separate storage than the cargo space on the ship. So just, some quick note there on how that's divvied up. We're going to fly around the ship. We'll try to keep it brief to cut back on time, because these videos do tend to get kind of lengthy, and I don't want to upload an hour-long review and walk around. So at the front here, this is your fuel intake. So once you're, pulling in gas and converting it, it will be pulled through this port on the front of the nose. Now on the Gemini version, which is the military version, there's a 9 9-tube missile launcher that's mounted in this area. So the military version doesn't have the fuel conversion capability. It just has more guns, and in this case, more missiles on the front. So if you're solely looking to just refuel ships and have a little bit more firepower, then the Gemini is definitely your version. But if you want to actually produce your own fuel and, you know, sell it, or, you know, be a fuel refinery / refueling platform with a lot more cargo space, then I definitely recommend the civilian Starfarer. Moving around to the side, you have massive guns. I think these are, I want to say these are size 5 guns. Maybe they're size 4s, but they're pretty big. These particular guns that are stock on it are like flat cannons, so the projectiles fly out and explode at a certain distance. Pretty effective in close range fighting. There are 2 gimbal mount turrets on both sides, and of course you can see the large turret up there. We'll get there in a second. But yeah, it seems to be a pretty standard MISC feature to have gimbal mounted turrets towards the cockpit area, and it's the same on the whole series and the Freelancer series. So a lot of these little external pipes, I think, out here have something to do with the fuel refining process. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what they're used for. I think these are intakes for the actual engines, the TR5 engines on either side. A lot of different types of intakes, so it's really hard to tell exactly what's what and what it's used for. Some more external piping that probably has something to do with the fuel refining process, and I think these connect to machines that are inside the cargo bay, and I'll cover that in a second. Moving down the side. Now over here along the tanks for the storage of the fuel, I think that these bigger tanks probably have something to do with the fuel refining process and aren't necessarily there for storage, because they're a lot different than the other tanks along either side. So you have 3 what look to be pretty standard storage tanks, and then this kind of specialized looking tank. So probably some type of separate component for refining fuel or storage of fuel, something like that. This is pretty much a big landing leg. There's some landing gear at the bottom of this little leg, and then the engine's mounted at the top. Moving around here, that's one of the TR2 or what? See, TR5, yeah, TR5 engines right there. The back of the storage tank. There are turrets mounted on the back of the tank area. You can kind of see it right here. I see it better on this side. Nope, it's all in shadow, but these are turrets right here. Try to get close to it. Yeah. I know it's really hard to see, it's in the shadows, but those are relatively small turrets. They don't have big guns. I think they have size 2 guns on them. So nothing big, just a little firepower on either one of these access ways. Just to defend your cargo, something. Here's the center. That's a TR6 engine. And then of course on the other side of this little arm there is another engine. Sorry, I got pushed down by my ship. So TR5 on either side, and then the TR6 is in the center. Access ways on either side for the turrets, as well as to hold the tanks to the fuselage. So there's an external catwalk to access the multiple tanks, and there are multiple control surfaces along this catwalk for I guess opening and closing the valves for the tanks when you're refueling or doing a refueling operation for another ship. So if you're refining, you'd have to probably switch the valves on and off to fill up the individual tanks, and then obviously when you're refueling a ship, you're going to have to manipulate the valves so that you're pulling fuel from whatever tank that you want to pull from. Moving down just a little bit. Pretty cool little detail, little fluff here is a lit MISC symbol on the bottom of the catwalk. So right here you have some fueling tubes that run along the sides on either side of the catwalk, and I think that these will probably be in relation to the refueling arm. And now the refueling arm is not in the game right now or on the ship right now. I'm sure it'll be added once refueling is actually a possible thing for you to do in the game. But currently it's the refueling arm isn't on here. So it'll be interesting to see how they implement it. Whether that's going to be something that swings out or if it slides along a rail below the catwalk out the back towards the ship. Moving forward, nothing special really in here, just more tanks either side. Moving up on the cargo door, and we'll watch the animation for that. Go. So yeah, the little loading ramp slides out, and then these little railings pop up. Pretty decent animation, really well done. Let's go ahead and try to maneuver our way into the cargo hold here. Oh, I hate that. You'd think you'd be a little bit better at landing even if he's at an angle. Maybe they'll fix that. But alright, we're inside the cargo hold. We're gonna go ahead and close the rear hatch, just show the animation for that. Pretty cool. Nice reinforced cargo bay door there. Pretty awesome. So in here, this is your main cargo area, and this is where that 3,300 units comes into play. Your cargo fits on these little white portions in between the black little pathways that you see here. So you can definitely see where you'd get the massive amount of cargo and fit it in here. So pretty cool. Before we go over some of the components in here, let's go to the forward airlock access. So this path, or this little hallway here, accesses the front airlock. The docking ring / airlock is right here. Pretty basic, standard little circular airlock. You do have lockers on either side for EVA suits, so eventually you'll be able to walk around bigger ships in regular clothing and not be in an EVA suit all the time. But right now that's not implemented and hulls are not pressurized, so EVA is you have to wear EVA suits the entire time. So I can't wait for them to actually implement your ship being pressurized so that you can walk around in regular clothes, make it feel a little bit more like it's a big ship. But you do have the lockers for the EVA suits on either side of this particular airlock. There are multiple airlock points around the ship. I think there's 3 total. This one just happens to be the most forward one and has to do with docking to a space station that doesn't have a landing pad, or coupling with a ship that doesn't have a pad for you to land on. Pretty much stuff of that nature. Or it's just an access way out into space. You can't jump through there. Now you can't really come back through the docking ring. It's not as soon as you get in here, you get the gravity effect and then slide right back out. So you can't EVA back in here yet until they fix how you can EVA into an airlock. But it will be possible, I'm sure, in the future. So this equipment up front here, in front of the airlock, I'm sure has something to do with the intake of planetary gas for the fuel conversion process. And I'm sure that maybe you won't specifically have some type of control here. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll have to come down here and flip a switch or something to start pulling in gas. But It doesn't look like there's a specific panel for controlling this equipment. There's a couple little button pads, but nothing huge. So maybe that this equipment is controlled somewhere else in the ship. And once it comes in through here, the fuel would come in there, and then I think it gets transported along insulated tubes along this lower hallway to this particular portion. You can see these large insulated pipes on either side. So I'm sure maybe you have to, like, you know, come over here, work with this little panel, work with this panel, turn them on to allow the fuel to come through here, maybe like some type of valve. And then I think that those little fuel lines branch off to these particular pieces of equipment. Now, I don't know specifically what these do. I'm assuming maybe they're for purifying or refining fuel into gas, and then it goes to the exterior where I was showing you to the first tank on either side. The larger tank maybe has something to do with filtering the fuel, and it's the same on both sides. So I definitely think that probably has something to do with the refueling or refining of fuel. Moving on, we have chairs or seats in the back. So along with transporting fuel and cargo, you can transport up to 12 people in the cargo area. So it does kind of have a personnel transport as well as cargo transport and fuel transport. So it does a lot, you know what I mean? For being marketed as just a refueling platform, it does have a lot of cargo space for hauling stuff, and it does have a lot of space for passengers to sit on here. So interesting that it's marketed as just a refueling / transport when it does a lot of different things for transporting. Moving up to deck 2, we have the second airlock. There's no EVA lockers in here. It does have some observation space, a little glass panel here so you can look into the cargo hold, with the rear airlock access to the catwalk. This is just the catwalk area that I was describing before, with controls for all the tanks on either side, as you can see here. And then on the back you have the control for this tank and the control for that tank. So every tank has its own little control panel. I like the way they did the lighting out here. The lighting is very well done. Pretty awesome stuff. There is a lift on either side of the catwalk that goes up to the deck 3. And deck 3 is primarily just the engineering space, but there is the third airlock up here. So I'll explain where that's at just a little bit later on. Going back through the airlock to the other side, all the airlock doors you actually have to use. They don't just open for you. You have to actually go up there and do the use button. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that when you can actually pressurize your ship. So the airlocks will definitely serve a purpose, but to see how they actually work, it'll be pretty interesting. So right here you have a cargo area / probably the fuel refining controls for the ship. So as well, you know, on top of being able to see your cargo bay, you'd probably come in here, do some control panel manipulation to turn on your fuel refining equipment or the fuel intake at the very front of the nose to start converting fuel into planetary gas into refined fuel. This way goes up to the bridge. We'll go there last. Move through the ship here. Really good job with the lighting. Really like what they've done with it. Pretty awesome stuff. This is the stairway to deck 3. Now deck 3 is just like I said, the engineering space. A lot of access ways, engineering access, pathways and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what this piece of equipment does. Maybe it has something to do with I don't know, fuel conversion, fuel refining, not really sure. It looks like it has one of them big insulated pipes that goes to it, so I would assume that it has something to do with refueling. A little control panel here for whatever that is. Another one behind it over here. That access, this little doorway goes to the access to the crew area, and we'll go over that in a second. Moving down this way, this is a little access way towards the actual engineering space itself. Now on either side, there are these little engineering crawl spaces, little access ways, and I'm assuming that once damage control is in the game, you'll have to use these to reach, you know, certain components. It says access panel, you see it right there. So you might have to come in here and interact with something to, you know, damage control the ship. But these little access ways do run along the entire, pretty much the entire length of the exterior of the ship. Before we move down the little access way to the back turrets, we have the engineering deck escape pod access. So this escape pod grouping here is specifically for people that are either up on the living quarters or on the engineering deck or on the back turrets. So in case of emergencies, these escape pods are a little bit closer to them, so they don't have to go all the way down to deck 2 towards the bridge to get on a escape pod. And there are 10 total escape pods throughout the entire ship. So there's 2 on this side and 2 on the other side, and we'll see those in a minute. Moving down, you have the access way to the rear turrets, and like I said, there are these little engineering spaces along both sides, and you probably will have to access those for damage control once damage control is in the game. So these back turrets are airlocked. So these are airlock doors, presuming that maybe the turret can be blown off, and if that's the case, you definitely would want that to be an airlock door so that it's, you know, keeps the pressure inside the ship. Moving into the turret, it inverts you into the turret space. Pretty awesome stuff. I do think that the range of view here can be a little bit better. Right now we're upside down, not right side up, so I think that maybe you could probably put a window on the top of this turret, but yeah, so that's the rear turrets. Nothing too fancy. Go ahead and flip back up. Oh, and now I'm laying down. There are some minor bugs, guys, so bear with it. It is an alpha game, so there are some things that don't make sense, and they happen sometimes. These are those external looking windows. They look over at the fuel tanks and the other side. I think they're kind of bugged out right now because you can really see the other windows, but you can't really see the other stuff as well. So I think that, yeah, see, completely different once you look through this one, and you go over here and it gets really foggy. So little minor bugs, but it happens. Moving back to the engineering space, we have, I call this the power plant bunker pretty much, because that's what it looks like to me. It's a reinforced bunker inside of a room. So your power plant's in there, I'd assume. This could either be a shield generator or a gravity generator. I think it kind of resembles the layout of a shield generator. It's covered in some type of sphere-like shell. So if you ever see what the shield generators look like, they kind of resemble these little ports that you see around the side of these 4 little ports. So it seems like a shield generator to me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to the Roberts Space Industries website and look at the UEC store or the Reg store and look at the shield generators, and you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. This is the Deck 3 forward engineering airlock that I was talking about, and it has the lift access. It goes down to the catwalk. I'll demonstrate that for you. Pretty cool stuff. Drops down, so you can go from Deck 3 to the catwalk. Moving back in, it does have 3 EVA suit lockers, which is pretty awesome. So if you're moving from engineering or maybe the crew's quarters, you come down to Deck 3, get in your EVA suit, go out to the fueling operation and do whatever it is you're doing. So that's the third airlock and final airlock. So let's go ahead and move up here to the power plant bunker. So I'm assuming that this is definitely the power plant, and I like how they emphasize that this is important to keep contained. So it's like, you know, it's protected from the outside by being in its own little bunker inside the ship, but it's also protecting the rest of the ship by being inside of a bunker. So if maybe something happens in here, maybe the rest of the ship will be saved from damage if something does happen. In this space you might have some type of storage. Not really sure what it's there for. And then you have a panel right here. What that's for, I'm not specifically sure. Maybe it has something to do with the engines or the power plant or something. This is the opposite side escape pod area. These doors are closed. I think some of the doors are open and some are closed just to demonstrate what they look like. And eventually you'll be able to interact with these and actually use the escape pods. Down this little access way is the other rear turret. I don't think I need to walk down there just for the sake of time. I will say that on this side's engineering access way, it's a little bit bigger than the other side, and that's because there is a ladder access that runs down to Deck 2 from Deck 3. So, or honestly from Deck 4. So it goes all the way from the crew quarter area down to Deck 2 as a access way for engineering purposes. And I'll demonstrate that when we go down to the bridge. Same thing on this side, nothing special. This is the access way up to the crew quarters on Deck 4. And it's the both on same side, or it's the both on either side rather. And I think that on one side they could have probably put another stairwell as opposed to making both of them ladder and lift accessible. I think that they should have put a stairwell because it's a little bit easier to navigate a stairwell in case of, you know, an emergency for, you know, speed purposes than a lift or a ladder is. But those are the access ways on either side. Maintenance access, maintenance access. This is the top turret seat. Pretty awesome how it's nestled in here. Go ahead and demonstrate that. Damn. Now this turret's significantly larger than other turrets. It's got size 4 guns on either side. And I have noticed that in combat, this turret can get... I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just part of the game, but if it gets destroyed or damaged, then the person that's in it can fly out into space. So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it does happen. So specifically if that's supposed to happen, I'm not sure. Back into the crew space, we'll go into the crew's quarters first. So moving in here, this is where your crew is going to spend their off time sleeping between shift work. There is a window here. See out into space. Little bench. Sorry guys, I keep yawning, I'm tired. Lockers. This one's open so you can see what the inside of a locker would look like. Pretty basic stuff. Beds. There's 6 beds. The captain's quarters is in a different part. It's on the opposite side. So you do have 1 bed for 7 people. So there's where your 7 max crew comes into play. But I think you could probably run 10 crew, and if they have to use the beds, then they can just switch off between who's doing shift work and who's off duty. So I would definitely recommend having 10 crew for a ship like this. Moving on to the bathroom / locker room. So you got lockers here. You can probably store your personal hygiene stuff, and then you can come inside here. Both of the bathrooms are the same. You have a toilet that converts into a shower. There's the shower head, sink, hot and cold water, some type of shelving. Not sure what that is. Same thing for the female bathroom, doesn't change. Same concept. Seating, bench area, changing, hooks for towels or clothing or whatever. Moving back out into the crew mess area. So you got a little kitchen area. Don't know, maybe those are little microwaves, or I don't know how the food would work, but this is definitely supposed to be a kitchen. A little trash bin right there, trash receptacle, and then a table for everybody to sit at, eat their food, converse, maybe play card games or something. Some storage shelves on the other side. It does have a moon roof, skylight, whatever you want to call it. Pretty nice. Move into the captain's quarters area. Some more shelving. Little wine rack, wine storage. Interesting stuff there. You can see it's kind of open. It has a wine bottle or some type of liquid bottle in there. Readouts for the ship. A desk that doesn't currently have a chair. Pretty interesting. Sleeping space, storage, some type of toggle switches, a window that you can't really see out of very well. I think the reflection's a little too strong. It seems like they should cut back on the reflection, and you can see like in the reflection there's doors here and there's not doors. So the reflection doesn't reflect what's in here besides the bedding, which is pretty interesting. So maybe they'll fix that. Bathroom area, sink, towels, toilet that folds down into a shower. Go ahead and go back up here. So we're going to head down to the bridge, and we're going to use the engineering access ways, which are right here. They got to work on that. Alright, so that's the ladder from the crew quarters down to the Deck 3 engineering access way. And then this ladder goes down to the Deck 2 area, the catwalk for the cargo area. So it's pretty awesome that they have these little engineering access ways throughout the ship. Yeah, but makes sense, right? If you're doing damage control, you want to have these little access routes to go fix components. Let's head up to the bridge. On the way to the bridge, you do have an additional escape pod area, and there are 6 in this particular space. So there's a total of 10 escape pods, and that's where I get my 10 crew from. So I would recommend having 10, and that's because you do have the escape pod ability for 10 crew as opposed to 7. Some med kit on either side. Fire extinguisher. Let's move up to the bridge. So on the bridge you have space for 5 people to sit here. Now I don't know specifically what every seat does, but I'm sure that they'll, you could have somebody manage one specific component of the ship. So maybe power, shields, the co-pilot, pilot seat, and then the captain's chair. In the captain's chair, you can actually do a lot of stuff with it. You can literally control every aspect besides flying the ship, which is pretty cool. So for your overall display, you have where your power output's going, and then a damage control indicator on your ship. So you see all the little inverted triangles on the hologram of the ship itself, and those are specific points: turret hard points, engines, power plants, stuff like that. So pretty cool stuff. You can just toggle through that, go to weapons, F6, power, F7, and you can go hit F3, go into mouse mode, and you can manipulate your power output for shields, guns. So pretty awesome stuff. Go ahead and toggle out of mouse mode, and then F8 is your shield management, and you can move this to put power, max forward shields, max left shields, max right, max rear, max forward left, max forward right, max back left, max back rear. Just however you're oriented to the enemy, you can manipulate your shields to be the strongest in that direction, which is pretty cool. And that's one of the reasons why you need to have more than, one person operating a ship like this. So somebody's always got to be managing power. Somebody's always got to be managing where your shield strength is focused. So you definitely can't solo the ship against anything, sizable. And you shouldn't take the ship into combat, period. You should avoid combat with the ship at all costs, because the low shield rating makes it really vulnerable, especially to missiles. It's slow and it's large, and you're not going to be able to avoid missiles. And you have enough flares to pop flares twice. So that's a maximum of 2 missiles that you can use flares on. After that, you're going to be missile bait. So I definitely don't recommend being in combat with this ship. Let's go ahead and hop out of here. Pilot seat, co-pilot seat, pretty basic stuff there. Cockpit windows look like some type of animal is in here scratching the shit out of it, like every other window on this ship, and I think they need to change that. Will they change it? I don't know, but they should. The cockpit view is pretty good. Honestly, it's what you'd expect from a ship of this size. Now you can see pretty much straight forward and out to either side, just not behind you. So you might have to do some flying in third-person view. Be my my suggestion. Just to demonstrate. Hopefully, I still have sound for my engines, because sometimes the sound likes to bug out. But
shield charging.
You can definitely hear the power in the engines. I'll demonstrate that here. Just sounds impressive, right? Sounds like you got a lot of power. Let's go ahead and demonstrate some of the flight characteristics of the ship. Now you can see that my roll isn't terrible for a ship of this size, but it's by no means quick when it rolls. And then pitching and yawing is the same way. It's not bad for a ship of this size, but it's by no means a fighter, so nice little demonstration there. Go ahead, cut engine power. So the bigger ships, you get a lot of momentum. So they don't fly fast, but they do have a lot of momentum. So when you change directions, even though the direction change is slight, you're still going to get drift just because the mass of your ship is still, going one way in its space. And space is a lot different than actually flying through atmosphere. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's the MISC Starfarer. Now, obviously, like I said before, it is just pretty much supposed to be a transport / fuel refinery and refueling platform, but it does have some passenger transport capabilities. Now, as for the crew, I would recommend having a full bridge so that you have full management of every component of the ship to maximize the effectiveness of power output and shields, as well as flight. So if you have a full complement in the bridge, then the captain doesn't have to actually manipulate anything himself. He can just tell people to do it while he's, managing the overall scope of the ship itself. So that's 5 people that you got on the bridge, and if you couple that with 3 gunners, you're already at 8 crew, which is one more than what it says the max crew is for the stats. So if you have everybody on the bridge and you have all guns mounted and you're at 8, then why not just go for a complement of 10 and have, a person for every escape pod, and that way you can have maybe an engineer or 2, or you could have an engineer and a security guard, or an engineer and a doctor. So there are multiple ways that you can break it down. Now you can have a dual purpose crew member. So maybe the crew that are operating these back terminals could be armed guards in addition to, bridge personnel. So you can kind of make multi-role crew and keep the numbers down. So you'd have, 5 bridge personnel, 2 of which can be security guards, and then 3 turret gunners, and then 2 engineers for, the mechanical aspects of the ship. But that's how I would have my particular crew laid out. But you can do it however you want. It does say the minimum is 2, and you can operate the ship with 2. You just have to do a lot of micromanaging as the co-pilot, since the pilot is going to be mostly focused on just flying the ship and using the guns. So it puts a lot of stress on your co-pilot, and I don't recommend it, but you can do it with 2 people. You'll also be able to hire AI crew. How effective those AI crew are going to be at operating the ship, it's debatable, so we won't know until we actually see AI crew, and that's not going to happen for a while, so... sorry guys. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that this video is a little bit better than my last one, and I deleted my last one already. So I hope that this one did, give you a little bit more information, a little bit more description about the capabilities, and then broke down how the crew should be laid out, at least per my opinion. Also, guys, I'm looking for crew for my ship, and I need, a full crew of, 9 additional people to help me crew the ship, especially once we get cargo and refueling and stuff in the game. I'm going to need, a full crew to run this ship the way it needs to be run. So if you are interested in being part of a crew and you don't mind taking direction / orders, I don't really call them orders, it's just direction and guidance from me as the captain of the ship, then please go to the link in the description. That link, there's multiple links. One link will be a organization link. It'll take you to my organization page on the Roberts Space Industries website. Go ahead and drop an application there. I could really use pretty much any skill set right now: pilot, co-pilots, engineering people, or people that want to be security personnel. So if you're interested in being part of a crew and making money off of transporting goods, then go ahead, drop an application, and we'll get you in here and start practicing as a group. I'm also gonna post a my Discord server information, the name of the Discord voice server, so you can just jump on there and chat with me. Even if you're not interested in joining my crew per se, if you just want to drop by and chat me up or have any questions, go ahead and jump on that Discord channel and chat with me. I'm also going to put in a referral code for anybody that's interested in joining the game or is new to the game and wants to get into it. You just put that code in the referral when you sign up, referral code section when you sign up, and you'll get 5,000 UEC, which is credit that you can use to rank components and try out different components, which who doesn't like free stuff, right? So you're helping yourself, you're helping me. And as always, guys, thanks for watching the video. I really hope that I was able to provide you guys with a decent walk around and review of the Starfarer, the MISC Starfarer. And I will see you guys in the next video.